Power up your game with the Dunlop FX 500. Boosting high power levels from all areas of the court, Dunlop launches an update to the FX 500. A couple new additions were made to this version, including a dazzling blue cosmetic, a new mold, a lower stiffness rating for more arm comfort, and new Power Boost groove technology for even more power and spin. The racket also features sonic core with Infinergy material added to the frame for a softened feel and Power Boost frame geometry for added stability. If I could describe the FX 500 in one word, it is easily power. Right from the start on the baseline, I got easy power and easy depth. When I was hitting my attacking or approach shots, I loved the little bit of extra oomph I got, as well as when I was on the defense. When I was really reaching for that ball, I was able to get that ball deep in the court and keep myself in the point in a neutral position. Now, when I approached the net, I found myself ending most points with a volley, either a swinging volley or really punching that ball deep to end the point. I liked the combination of stability and maneuverability. Up at net, I didn't feel like I was getting pushed around, but I was able to get the ball or the racket in position with plenty of time. When it came to serves, it was loaded with power and spin. I like to kind of mix those up when I was hitting first serves. Although I was surprised I wasn't getting as much easy power as I wanted from my first serve. I had to put a little bit more effort into it. Now, if I had to give it one negative, it would be that this racket is a little bit launchy at times for me when I was hitting my ground strokes. There was plenty of times my ball was going well past the baseline and I had to kind of dial myself back in and adjust and almost hold myself back to make sure I was keeping that ball in the court. And if I'd compare it to the previous iteration, I'd say that it offered a little bit less maneuverability, a little bit more plow through, and a more dampened feel. Overall, I think this is an easy to use racket for players looking for power and spin.
As soon as I started hitting with this Dunlop FX 500, there was no denying the power. As Brittany mentioned, this racket was really powerful. I was enjoying easy depth. Even when I was pushed back off the line, I was getting my shots deep into the court. I also was really pleased with the amount of spin I could generate. The string pattern is quite open, and I was hitting some backhand cross courts that I thought I had no business hitting, and I loved that I was getting them to jump off the court. However, with that said, I also did have some issues. I'm more of a flat hitter rather than a spin hitter, and the launch angle of this racket was a bit of an adjustment for me. I actually play with an 18x20 that fits my flatter hitting style, so getting the depth control for me took a little bit, and there were times when I was getting a little wild with my shots. At net, I did like this racket. I felt it was maneuverable, also stable and very comfortable. Volleys are not my strongest shot, and so when I was mishitting the ball there, I liked the comfort factor. On serve, I was getting some good power. It wasn't coming as easily over my head as I thought it would, but I was still able to get some good pace, good spin. Overall, I do think that this racket is great for the player who's looking to be aggressive with power and spin and is looking for it in a comfortable package. Those were Brittany and I's thoughts on this racket. Now we're going to check in with our team in Georgia. Shofi, how did the racket work for you?
Thanks, Steph. Yeah, actually, I was a super big fan of the previous generation of the FX 500, so I was super excited to try this one out, and it did not disappoint. Right after the first few shots on the baseline, it became very apparent that I will be able to get lots of easy power with this racket. I really enjoyed it, especially on my forehands, and how easily I was just able to keep my opponents behind the baseline. Another added feature that I loved about this racket is the spin. I grew up playing on the red clay courts in Europe, and I really appreciate a racket that helps me with that extra spin on my shots. The new FX 500 felt very stable, super maneuverable. The racket head came around very fast, so no issues there. One thing I had to be mindful of is just the launch angle, since the pretty open string pattern. I tend to like to go for those riskier, crazier angles when I'm playing, and it was just something to be mindful of because the launch angle, sometimes it was a bit tricky to get to those shots, but just a personal preference there. In my opinion, one of the strongest features of the original FX 500 was that even though on paper it was rated pretty high in stiffness, it did not feel that stiff at all. Now, comparing the new generation to the previous one, I didn't really feel too much of a difference, except when it comes to stiffness, because the new one actually felt even softer than the previous one. So if you're a fan of that, or if you're looking for something like that, this will be perfect for you. Overall, if you like a racket with 100 square inch head size, easy power, great spin, and easy maneuverability, and if you're looking for something that doesn't feel that stiff, definitely give this one a try.
On paper, the Dunlop FX 500 compares very similarly to a lot of 100 square inch power frames. But as we soon found out, in effect, there's a lot to distinguish the Dunlop FX 500. Most notably, it comes around a little bit quicker, which forces you to play the ball a little bit earlier and took some dialing in for me at the beginning. But a notable strength of the racket actually was the launch angle it produced and the depth it was able to achieve with the very open string pattern and the slightly flared head shape. With that flared hoop design and very aerodynamic beam contour, the sweet spot of the racket seems to feel almost a little stretched vertically and a little bit higher up on the string bed, which lends itself to a little bit longer swing. I would also mention that while the racket is noted as a slightly firmer, stiffer one, it does play notably softer than the previous generation. If I were to have one gripe about the racket, it would be that the twist weight seems just a little bit low for my liking, but I did find that you can overcome this very easily with clean hitting. I would recommend the Dunlop FX 500 to anybody checking out the 100 square inch range, but is looking for a racket that's a little bit more on the maneuverable side and faster swinging side, with touches of comfort here and there. We strung up this Dunlop FX 500 with Dunlop Speed and Dunlop Spin at 53 pounds. For more information on this racket and many others, check us out at tenniswarehouse.com, tenniswarehouseeurope.com, and tennisonly.com. Thanks for watching.